All these games and yet barely anything spooky. I mean, I've got games like Resident Evil 4, but I don't just want a horror game. I want something made specifically for Halloween. Huh? What's this? Stop it. Licensed game, huh? If that shit ain't scary, I don't know what is.
Oh, Robert!
Halloween. I love this time of year. The weather's nice and the dark atmosphere of everything just... it feels so good. The monsters, the scares, it's awesome. I mean, I'm a huge scary cat, but I still love it. So to get into the Halloween spirit, I think a Halloween video is in order. And what better way to get into the spirit than was considered a Halloween classic, The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Back on October 29th, 1993, Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas was released by Disney under the Buena Vista Pictures name, although later Disney did put their name on it. The film was a success, both critically and financially, and it's regarded by many as one of the many Disney classics. Personally, I don't like the film as much as everyone else seems to, but I still like it. It's got great characters, the story is good, and it has amazing songs.
You're joking.
For the most part.
Now you may be wondering, if the film is so successful and it has since gained a huge following, why was there never a sequel?
Well, apparently Disney was planning on making a sequel in 2001, opting to use CG instead of stop-motion animation, but Burton managed to convince them to drop the idea, saying, "I was always very protective of Nightmare not to do sequels or things of that kind. You know, Jack Visits Thanksgiving World or other kinds of things, just because I felt the movie had a purity to it, and the people that like it, because it's a mass market kind of thing, it was important to kind of keep that purity of it." So the film never got an official sequel, but in 2005, Disney released what is basically Nightmare Before Christmas 2 in the form of The Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie's Revenge. Developed by Capcom and released for the Xbox and PS2 in 2005, 2004 if you live in Japan, Oogie's Revenge takes place 1 year after the events of the film. The developers got advice from Tim Burton and had the art director of the film work with them, and they even got a portion of the original voice cast back for the game, yet despite this, the game is seldom talked about. It's probably because of the US cover. Seriously, this is terrible. It barely resembles Nightmare Before Christmas aside from having Jack on it. Halloweentown looks like it's on fire, this ugly moon takes up a fourth of the art, it's a mess. I prefer the art from every other version of the game, why'd you dump this crap on us, Capcom?!
So since this takes place 1 year after the film, certain things might not make sense if you haven't seen it, and there could be potential spoilers, so I suggest that you go and watch the movie before watching this video. Don't worry, I can wait. You ready? Alright, let's get into
The Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie's Revenge.
'Cause I'm the boogeyman.
When we start up the game, we get a montage of what happens in the story, followed by the title screen which plays a cover of This Is Halloween. And it's terrible. The people aren't singing very good, and they seem like they're overacting way too much.
I am the one hiding under your bed, teeth ground sharp and eyes glowing red.
And it doesn't even play the full song. It gets cut off after about a minute and a half.
The tearaway face.
Not a good sign. The story begins with Jack Skellington wanting to make next Halloween extra spooky. I guess those new ideas he got to make up Screen didn't work out so well. So Dr. Finkelstein gives him this thing called the Soul Robber, and Jack heads off in search of new discoveries for next Halloween. Lock, Shock, and Barrel decide that this is a good time to bring back Oogie Boogie.
How hard can it be?
Apparently not very, seeing as any time The Nightmare Before Christmas gets a story outside of the film, they just decide to resurrect him. Video game sequel to the movie? Just have someone put him back together again off screen. Handheld game? Make it a prequel so Oogie is around. Explain what his deal is. Kingdom Hearts has a Halloweentown world? Just bring him back as the main villain. Twice. 3 times. 4. Jack returns over a month later to find that Oogie Boogie has taken over Halloweentown, and now we get our first foray into the gameplay. We use the Soul Robber as our way to attack. You have a standard attack with square and a heavy attack with triangle that makes Jack grab his opponents with the Soul Robber, then you can press square to throw the enemy or press triangle over and over to slam them into the ground. You can also do a spin attack by pressing triangle and spinning the right analog stick. This combat system is clunky, to say the least. First off, you lock in a place whenever you attack, which leaves you open to attack from other enemies. It doesn't help that you only have a 2-hit combo with the standard attack, which makes it even easier for enemies to drain your health. Second, the cover of This Is Halloween plays during this fight scene.
Oh, Robert! Oh!
These may not seem like big deals right now, but just wait. I don't know why, but there's something off about Jack's model. He doesn't look finished. After beating the skeletons, Mr. Hyde appears and says he's how we save our game. We also learn that the fountain in the middle of town heals us and we can carry a bottle of the water with us. We head into Town Hall where we come face to face with Oogie Boogie. Shadow. This is the first boss of the game. It's not hard, just time consuming, and the whole time there's a new rendition of Oogie Boogie song playing. Ignoring the fact that it's not very good, the song loops. I swear I heard this song at least 3 times while playing, and it got more and more annoying as time passed. While we fight him, we collect these weird music notes that fill up this bar on the side, and when it's full, it suddenly changes into a rhythm game where we...
Pretty proud of all your...
Whenever you hit a note, one of the most ear-piercing sounds you can imagine suddenly plays, and it's louder than the song too. Who thought this was a good idea? Though I will admit, it's a little fun to play this minigame, especially since the actual fight is just dull and goes on for way too long. Here I learned there isn't an actual jump button, instead you press the circle button to dodge, which acts as a very basic, finicky jump. This game has what I like to call action dialogue, which is a line that is said anytime a certain attack/action is performed. In this case, it's whenever you use your heavy attack, Jack will call out, "Oh, Robert!" This is especially apparent in the song where Jack will still say it even while he's singing.
It's over! It's over! This time you've gone too far! It's over! I'm serious!
After defeating Oogie's Shadow, we get the Halloween holiday door, which then ends the chapter where we get a nightmare rank. You get graded based on 4 things: clear time, your highest combo, damage, and exclamation mark count. I have no clue what those last 2 things are or do. This is all totaled up and you are given an overall rank between D and S, and honestly I couldn't care less about this. I mean, you can get a figurine if you get all A's, but I just don't care to do that. Also, I want to say real quick that everything that's displayed on the screen, like the HUD or the Nightmare ranking screen, they all look like they just took clip art and put it on the screen. It does not look good at all. Corpse Kid appears and tells us to go to the Witch's Shop, which, surprise surprise, is the shop in the game where you can buy health upgrades, an extra health water bottle, power-ups, etc. We then head down into the sewers and rescue the clown with the tearaway face so he can open the main gate. And now... Jack's voice. For the longest time, I had Jack's voice actors switched. I thought Danny Elfman voiced him and Chris Sarandon provided the singing voice, and that the developers only got his singing voice back for the game, which would explain the not-so-good voice acting yet fine singing. However, that is not the case. Danny Elfman was Jack's singing voice, and Chris Sarandon was his speaking voice, and they got Chris back for the game where he's both voices for Jack. So why is his voice acting so bad?
Something's missing. There's got to be a way to make Halloween more hideous, more terrifying, more frightening. This can't go on. You've got to do better, Jack.
He sounds like he's either perpetually tired or like an old man who can't see very well, realizing what's in front of him.
That's the Halloween holiday door. Now what in the world is that doing here?
Just listen to this line when Jack learns that Sally has been kidnapped.
What? Took Sally? That's it. No more Mr. Nicebones.
He couldn't sound like he gave less of a shit if he tried. Yeah, his singing voice is actually pretty good.
Just because you fool the town doesn't make you king. You better give up, surrender now. I'm fixing everything.
This legitimately baffles me. I don't remember him having such bad voice work in the movie, or hell, even in other games. I even rewatched the film, and yeah, Sarandon didn't talk much, it was mostly Elfman singing or just quiet, but when he did speak, it was good. So what happened here?
No more Mr. Nicebones.
We should move on. Jack heads off to the cemetery where we meet the hanging tree who tells us his hanging men have run off, so we have to find them. While doing so, we have to fight off locked skeletons, and that's not important. What is important is fuck this chapter. You have to use Zero to find the hanging men, and his bark is so annoying, but you have to use his bark because there's no other indication of where the men are. Not even your map tells you, because for some reason the developers decide to only give you that info at certain points. Everything here looks the same and there's no clear way to get to places, so I ended up getting lost on more than one occasion, and the camera doesn't help because it's a fixed camera mixed with weird Resident Evil style camera transitions that just disorient me, and don't even get me started on the final hanging man located in the tree because you have to be exact with where you move or else you fall and you have to do the entire thing all over again! This is only the 3rd chapter out of 24 chapters in the game, and it took me 45 minutes to do. That does not give me hope for the rest of the game. The next chapter consists of Jack having to put these headstones up as they are summoning the enemies. This didn't take me nearly as long, but it still wasn't easy. Or fun. Getting the headstones up is a hassle itself because they don't always come up the first time, even if I do the exact same thing I did for a previous one. Not to mention the fact that enemies spawn every time you get near one, so you have to clear them out or risk getting attacked. And since there's enemies, that means fighting, which means This Is Halloween plays every single time. This is Halloween, you'll know every word and rhyme. This is Halloween, playing through all our fight scenes, it will loop forever through the rest of time. After that we get an actual boss fight with Locke, and it takes forever. Locke keeps jumping around and the skeletons he summoned are a pain in the ass, and another song plays during this battle. Then we go to a crypt and find Sally, where we get another annoyingly long boss battle with another song that fucking loops! You have to hit the spider in the back so it will turn into a bunch of spiders that you have to take out. The soul spin here is your best friend, and actually it's the most useful attack in the game. Yeah, it still locks you into place, but it also makes you invulnerable for a second, destroys projectiles, hits enemies multiple times, and sucks in loot that enemies drop. We get another door and then go on a trip to save Dr. Finkelstein. I now get what's up with how Jack looks. You know those midway points that you see in models during like making of videos where the model has the colors and base in place, but it still looks pretty shiny? That's what Jack looks like here. He looks like his model was never fully finished, and his hands look like something straight from an N64 game. So we've gotten the ability to change into Jack's Pumpkin King outfit, which allows us to breathe fire. One problem: how the hell do I do it? The game didn't tell me when I got it, so I pressed every button I could think of, and I searched all over the in-game menus, and I even checked the manual, and I couldn't find anywhere on how to change. I had to look it up online, and do you know how easy it was? That's it. It's not that hard, yet the game made no mention of it anywhere, and it's needed to progress. After a bunch more useless crap, we make it to Finkelstein, where it turns out Oogie switched out his brain for an evil one, which is why he helped Oogie take over Halloweentown. So now we need to put his brain back in a half-boss battle with another damn song.
Town has changed, boy, since you've been away. Without our Pumpkin King, Oogie Boogie's way.
I died here and... wait, the fuck? I died once before this, and it only took around 500 of my pumpkin coins, I guess, but this time it took over 1,000. Does it take more currency as you die? That's not fair. It takes forever to get the coins, and the useful items are super expensive, so you're going to take away my means of getting them simply because I died? Punishments for dying are not a bad thing, but this is not a fair punishment. We're not even halfway through the game and already I'm hating it. Sally gives Jack his Santa outfit, which allows us to stun enemies for a second, and it turns scared enemies back to normal. Oh yeah, there's a taunt system by pressing the D-pad that allows you to scare enemies. It really has no point other than to get a higher nightmare rank at the end of the chapter, and it's really easy to abuse. I'm skipping over the next two chapters because they're just frustrating and confusing with nothing worthwhile to talk about. We're now in the residential area of Halloweentown, where we have to save the vampire brothers because they've been turned into bats, and this second one is harder to catch than a shaved chipmunk covered in butter. Then we save the mayor. In the middle of all this, I get health upgrades, yada yada yada. This game is not giving me anything new to talk about. The enemy clusters suck, the game looks half-finished, the combat is dull, clunky, and repetitive, the difficulty spikes can eat a bag of Richards, and every chapter is full of insanely boring combat and fetch quests that I don't have anything to say about. And you know what? It never changes. You get more boss fights that are incredibly boring with annoying looping songs, and oh god, this song Take Our Town Back, which replaces This Is Halloween once you get into the residential area, is just utter garbage and is grating on the ears.
Take our town back, take our town back.
Take our town back, we can win.
Okay, I should calm down. Let's continue on in the story. So after a boss fight with Lock, Shock, and Barrel, we get another door and the three pranksters open up a hole under Jack that lands him in some realm made/owned by Oogie. So I guess we can add dimensional transportation to the ever-growing list of Oogie's supernatural abilities. It's boring and you have to wait a lot, and then we end up having to fight a boss that we fought before. Twice if you did one of the secret chapters. It turns out Oogie Boogie has been capturing all the holiday leaders so he can be the 7 holidays king. All of the leaders are in bags so you can't see them, and I bet that's only because of what some of the holiday leaders would be. I mean, you've got the obvious ones like the Easter Bunny and Cupid. I guess Uncle Sam would work for Independence Day, which by the way is an odd choice since that's a really American holiday. St. Patrick's Day of St. Patrick, which is religious, and Disney usually strays away from that. Usually. And what would you do for Thanksgiving? A turkey? That's pretty generic. Thanksgiving doesn't have a mascot for it. I mean, neither does Halloween, but at least they've got Jack to fill that role. The place where Oogie is holding all these holiday leaders turns out to be under the town, with the only way to get to it through the well that they say has been dried up for years, despite it clearly having water in the film, which, may I remind you, this game only takes place a single year after the film. We encounter Oogie Boogie in person for the first time in the game, except no we don't, it's his shadow again. So far the most fun I've had is with these rhythm sections during boss fights. They aren't the easiest things ever, but I still find them more fun since you actually have to pay attention and think about what you do instead of mindlessly hitting the attack button. This gives us the final door we need. I feel like I may have skipped over some while talking, but that's not important. What is important is that we go to Spiral Hill and head to the Hinterlands to restore the holiday doors in the second that is... oh boy. See, here you have a map with different paths, except the paths aren't directly connected. They seem to take you to random places, and at this point I wasn't in the mood to deal with that, so I just looked it up online. Then we get a chapter where out of goddamn nowhere, 2 fire and ice troll skeletons appear in a mini boss battle, and here are my thoughts on it. The 2 trolls are ridiculously strong. They aren't stunned by your attacks. They go invincible at points, so you have to take time to scare them back to normal, and remember, you lock into place when you attack, leaving you wide open to be hit. There's also no way to tell how close they are to dying. I went to the options and turned on enemy health bars, and they never showed, so really you have to blindly hit them until they die. I died again here and learned just how terrible the death penalty in the game is. When you die and hit continue, you get healed and your enemies get healed, but you also lose a large amount of money and any items you used are now gone. Basically, you don't go back to square 1, you go to square -3. I think it's clear how badly a game is designed when choosing to quit the game is a better option than actually using a continue. So after that mini-boss that served literally no point in being in the game, we go through some battles, which means more... we set the holiday doors into place, and now a mere 21 chapters into this 24-chapter game called The Nightmare Before Christmas, we go to Christmastown. More fetch quests ensue until we have to save Sandy Claus from being rocketed into space or something. It's easy, it's just annoying that the enemies decide to not let you do the thing you need to. That's not fun. You know what else isn't fun? My life. And now, for the climax. The big finale, it's time to fight Oogie. The only nightmares I bring are the ones about having to replay this game, Boogie. He crashes in a junkyard in Halloweentown and then takes a page from Alice's book and becomes a giant, again adding to his new supernatural abilities. The boss fight that ensues is pretty easy once you figure out all you really need to do is dodge his attacks long enough to get to a gas pipe where you can set him ablaze, taking out a good piece of his health, then do the same with the second pipe, wait for them to put out more gas, rinse, repeat, lather, soak, scrub, stab, cook, sleep. And with that, we have beaten The Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie's Revenge. Psych! There's one more rhythm section, and like the other ones in the game, I actually enjoy it. Here we press the right buttons to hear a revision of Oogie Boogie's song. That makes the number of revisions for that song in this game 3. 3. The original was already bad, and these are admittedly better, but not by much. I know the game is called Oogie's Revenge, but did you really need to put it in here 3 times? And with one single health point left, I beat him. Oogie dies again, but obviously he'll come back sooner or later. Jack and Sally share a second kiss, and the credits roll. Oh sweet Jesus, please don't play the song again! So what can you do after the game? Well, you can go and try and get an S rank in every chapter, get to all the secret areas, and find the 2 secret chapters, but I don't see why you'd want to. This game is not very good. Yeah, I know I didn't cover every single thing in the game, but the reason I skipped over a lot of it is because it just doesn't give me enough to talk about, or it's not important in the grand scheme of things. You can buy attack upgrades, but they don't feel like they do much. There's this part in the residential area where you have to get the clown with the tearaway face off a rocket, but you have to be very precise. But why should I mention these things? They're pointless. They give me nothing to talk about other than, oh, they exist and they're annoying, just like the rest of the game. So yeah, this game is not very good. It doesn't look finished, it gets boring and repetitive really quickly, the boss battles are long and tedious, the songs get annoying fast, the difficulty spikes are awful, I could go on. Actually, on the difficulty, I was talking to a friend about this, and he mentioned how it seemed to be one of those games where the difficulty spikes were put in so rental shops could get more money, and honestly that wouldn't surprise me at all if that were the case. Now, there are some good things in the game. I did enjoy the rhythm sections, and some of the instrumental music was good, and you know what? Outside the game, the songs are good. When you have to listen to them on loop during battles, they get annoying really quickly, but if you listen to them on their own, most of them aren't actually that bad. Though if you're looking for original songs, this isn't the place to look. Most of the songs in the game are just songs from the movie with different lyrics. There are the obvious ones like Oogie Boogie's song and Sally's song, but the other songs are almost completely different lyric-wise, but use the track from the film's song as a base. Take Our Town Back is Making Christmas, Hail to Mr. Oogie is Kidnap the Santa Claus, Oh No is What's This, etc. Sometimes they even use lyrics from the original song.
He'll be so pleased by our success.
That he'll reward us too, I bet.
He'll be so pleased by our success. That he'll reward us too, I'll bet.
The only original song in the game is the song played during the Finkelstein brain swap fight. And I guess it's cool that they give Oogie Boogie an actual role instead of just shoving him during the final act, but even then, he doesn't play much of a role. Yeah, he took over Halloweentown, but not counting the few times he's on an intercom, he only appears 3 times in the game, and 2 of those times it was just his shadow, so actually he only appeared once in the entire game.
So there are some good things here, but the good is severely overshadowed by the bad. If you want a better Nightmare Before Christmas gaming experience, just play Kingdom Hearts 2. Yeah, it's not an entire Nightmare Before Christmas game, but the one world we get in that is 1,000 times better than the entirety of this game. I'd only really recommend it if you are a die-hard fan who collects Nightmare Before Christmas stuff. But besides that, don't. It's not worth it. Good night, peoples and odd peoples of the internet. I'm Ghost Eye, and you stay fabulous, and don't forget to have an awesome Halloween. Tried to make the background here look kind of spooky. I think I nailed it.